The auction yard buzzed with noise. Boots kicked up dust, metal gates clanged, and voices shouted with snorts of uneasy horses. The morning sun stretched long shadows across the cracked earth, warming it just enough to stir the scent of hay, sweat, and stubborn hope. At the edge of the crowd stood a girl named Maya, barely 15. She wore jeans stained from chores and a braid that fell down her back like a rope of dark silk. Her eyes, wide and determined, scanned the pens as she held tightly to her grandfather's calloused hand. His name was Jack, an old rancher who'd seen better years, both in health and fortune. He watched her closely, his brow furrowed under the brim of his weathered hat. "You sure about this?" he asked, voice gravelly from years of wind and worry. Maya nodded without speaking. They stopped at a far pen marked Lot 127, caution, wild, no refunds. Inside stood a horse unlike any other, tall, black as midnight, and built like a storm ready to break. His body coiled with tension, scars crisscrossing his flanks like battle wounds. But it was his eyes that struck Maya, wild, bottomless, angry. "That's the one," Jack said, more statement than question. Maya nodded again. A handler approached, shaking his head before they could even speak. "You don't want that one, kid. He ain't a horse. He's a beast. Kicked a man clean through a fence last week." "What's his name?" Maya asked softly. The handler scoffed. "He don't got one." Maya stared at the stallion. For a moment, just a flicker, he stilled, his breathing slowed. Then, as if remembering he wasn't meant to be tamed, he reared and slammed his hooves against the bars. Jack noticed, said nothing. That afternoon, the auction began. Horses were led into the ring, some drugged into calmness, others trembling with fear. Maya sat beside Jack, stomach twisting with every sale. She knew what happened to those who didn't sell, the fate no one spoke of. And then came Lot 127. No one let him in. They opened the gate from a distance. He stormed out like thunder, chains rattling, hooves kicking up clouds of dust. He reared, screamed, charged the fence. The crowd gasped, stepped back. "Who dares?" The auctioneer laughed nervously. Silence. Then someone yelled, "Put that monster down." Maya stood. Jack turned sharply. "Maya, don't." But she was already walking. Each step echoed louder in her ears as the crowd parted. The auctioneer blinked in surprise when she climbed onto the platform. "I'll bid," she said, voice clear. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Miss, you sure?" $100. A few chuckles. A man muttered, "Girl, that's suicide." The gavel fell. Sold. The crowd clapped mockingly. Some whistled. Maya stood motionless, heart pounding, legs like jelly. Jack met her at the bottom of the steps, lips pressed tight. "What's your plan now?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but I couldn't let them kill him." They waited hours for handlers to calm the stallion enough for transport. Jack backed the trailer up, used boards and grain to coax him inside. It took nearly an hour. 3 close calls. Finally, he was in, panting, furious, eyes ablaze. The ride home was silent. Maya sat in the bed of the truck, arms wrapped around herself, heart hammering. Jack drove with white knuckles. Back at the ranch, a small spread tucked between golden hills, they backed the trailer into the corral behind the barn. The stallion exploded out of the trailer, nostrils flaring, tail high. He ran circles, testing the fences. Maya watched from behind the barn door. Jack joined her with 2 mugs of tea. "That horse is going to break something," he muttered. "Maybe," she said. After a while, he asked, "Why this one?" She thought, "Because I saw something in his eyes." He wasn't just scared. He was angry, like he'd been let down too many times. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You relate to that?" She looked away. "Maybe," he sighed. "You know what you're up against." "No," she admitted, "but I'm not giving up on him." That night, Maya crept out to corral, sat on the top rail, watching him under the moonlight. An hour passed. 2. At one point, their eyes locked again. He didn't flinch, didn't look away. She whispered, "You don't have to trust me yet, but I'm here." The wind rustled the trees. Somewhere, a coyote howled. and the stallion lay down. Not close, not relaxed, but down. The next morning, Maya woke before sunrise. Boots by the bed, urgency in her chest. She approached the corral slowly. No halter, no ropes, just herself. The stallion's ears flicked. He didn't bolt. Watched her with calculating eyes. She crouched 10 feet away. Waited. Minutes passed. Legs burned. Cold bit her knuckles. Still, she waited. She reached into her pocket, pulled out apple slices, placed them on the ground, backed away. He sniffed, stepped forward, took a bite, chewed, waited, took another. Behind her, the barn door creaked open. Jack stepped out, coffee in hand. He eaten? She nodded. Progress. Tiny, terrifying progress. By day 3, he let her sit nearby while he circled slowly. Day 5, she introduced a halter, left it on the fence, let the wind carry its scent. On day 10, he allowed the halter over his nose. Trembling fingers tightened it gently. She stood beside him, hand resting lightly on his shoulder. "Good boy," she whispered. "You're doing so good." He exhaled. Muscles relaxed, just a little. Weeks passed. They built a rhythm. Small steps. Halter walks. Soft commands. Her voice became his compass. Her presence, a bomb shelter. Then came Mr. Granger, owner of a high-end training facility. Dropped by uninvited, polished boots and rehearsed smile. "Here you picked up one of the BLM's problem horses," he said. "Impressive. Thought I might take him off your hands." Maya stiffened. "He's not for sale." Granger smiled thin. "Suit yourself. But if he gets loose or hurts someone," the words lingered like smoke. Later, Maya stood at the corral, fists clenched. Jack joined her. "You don't have to prove anything." "It's not about him," she said. "It's about Ash. He deserves to feel safe." She named him Ash, not because of his color, but because of what she saw in his eyes. Not fire, but what fire leave behind. Quiet, dangerous. Days turned into weeks. Trust grew slow and deep. One morning, she noticed a hitch in his stride. Old injury. Likely from the wild. Jack checked his leg. Could be arthritis. He won't be a racer. Maya looked at Ash. He doesn't have to run. He just has to be. One afternoon, she swung into the saddle. Didn't pull the reins. Didn't push. Just breathed with him beneath the sky. He didn't buck. Didn't flinch. He stood still. Jack watched from the porch, pride hidden behind his beard. A week later, the call came. Animal control. Formal complaint filed. Claimed Ash was dangerous. Illegally adopted. Maya's heart leapt to her throat. "Harker," Jack said grimly. 2 days later, the letter arrived. Notice of review. Temporary suspension of custody rights. "They're coming for him," Maya whispered. Jack read the letter. "They'll move him to a holding facility. He'll shut down again. I won't let them take him." Jack looked at her long and hard. "Then you'd better be ready to fight." She drove into town with flyers and resolve. Shared his story. Posted online. Sent letters. Knocked on doors. People responded. A local news outlet picked it up. Photographer captured Ash pressing his forehead to Maya's chest at sunrise. Photo went viral. Suddenly, Ash wasn't just a horse. He was a symbol. Support poured in: soldiers, parents, trainers, kids. So did the opposition. Granger released a statement painting Maya as reckless. Accused her of endangering community. Then came the hearing. Modest government building. Beige walls. Lopsided flag. Maya stood at the front beside her lawyer. Across from her, Granger in a tailored suit. Board asked questions. Reviewed documents. Watched testimony. A vet spoke. Hank spoke. Then Maya stepped forward. She didn't speak like a lawyer. Didn't speak like a rancher. Spoke like a girl who gave her heart to something no one else believed in. "I didn't save Ash," she said. "He saved me. After my mom died, I felt like everything I touched fell apart. Ash didn't need someone perfect. He needed someone who wouldn't leave. And I stayed. I'll always stay. Not to win a case, but because he finally knows what it's like to be safe. Room fell silent. Board recessed. 2 hours later, verdict came. In consideration of all evidence presented, we find insufficient cause to remove the animal known as Ash from current owner's care. Custody reinstated. Maya didn't breathe for a full 5 seconds. Then the air rushed out of her lungs like wind through a canyon. Granger walked out without a word. Outside, Maya broke down, sank to her knees on courthouse grass. Tears spilled freely. Jack knelt beside her, wrapped one arm around her shoulders. "You did it," he whispered. "You held your ground." Back home, Ash stood waiting at the gate, ears pricked, eyes bright. When Maya approached, he pressed his head into her chest and closed his eyes. Months followed, quiet, rich with purpose. Maya continued training, not for shows, but for confidence. Trails, rivers, visits to schools where children read aloud to him. He stood still, head lowered, listening. One spring afternoon, a package arrived, no return address. Inside, a wooden plaque. Ash stood when he could have run. She mounted it on the corral post. Evenings, she groomed him under the setting sun. Jack handed her a worn envelope. "Found this in your mom's things." Letter inside, faded but intact. Her mother's handwriting danced across the page. "My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, it means you've grown into the woman I always believed you become. I hope you found someone wild and wonderful, someone worth waiting for. If so, hold on with both hands. Love, always, Mom." Maya pressed the paper to her heart, looked at Ash. "I did," she whispered. "I really did." Moral lesson. Sometimes the most broken hearts are the ones that can teach us the deepest lessons about love, patience, and courage. If you enjoyed this story, hit the bell and subscribe. Don't forget to comment below. What would you do if you saw someone everyone else had given up on? Share your thoughts.